Please take your seats. We are ready for the Secretary General.
C'est bon?
Ok, on y va.
Thank you. Good afternoon and welcome, presidents, prime ministers, chancellor. We welcome you to the Rainforest Alliance. I am turning now to the moderator of the high-level segment to introduce the Secretary General, the President of the Inter-American Development Bank, Luis Alberto Moreno. Mr. Moreno, you have the floor.
Good morning, everybody. Let me just begin by saying that in Latin America and the Caribbean, we have more than 40% of the world's biodiversity. Many of our ecosystems are already under stress, from coral reefs in the Caribbean to shrinking Andean glaciers to tropical forests suffering from droughts and fires. At the IDB, we have worked at conservation and sustainability for decades, but the challenges posed by climate change are on a radically different scale. 4 years ago, our shareholders set the goal of directing 30% of our lending to climate-related projects by 2020. We've already reached that goal, and since 2015, we've tripled our climate-related lending to $5 billion a year, thanks to the continued support and the leadership of governments such as Germany, France, Japan, Canada, the UK, Austria, Norway, and the Netherlands. However, it is clear that we cannot get the job done if we don't dramatically expand private investment in these challenges. The fact is that governments are falling behind when it comes to meeting the Paris commitments. It is therefore imperative that we accelerate and scale up blended finance alternatives. That's why we're proud that last year President Macron created the Natural Capital Lab at the IDB with a generous contribution of 24 million euros from the government of France. This lab is intended to test innovative approaches to financing climate diversity and biodiversity projects. These new approaches are essential as we ramp up our work with cities, which are home to 80% of our population. Cities are the front line of the climate effort, both in terms of reducing emissions from transportation and energy, and because of the urgency of adapting to impacts such as hurricanes, floods, and droughts. So I hope this week will serve to shake up all of us in a renewed sense of urgency, and that we'll quickly find ways to join forces in this challenge. Finally, on a more practical level, I've been asked to moderate and remind everybody that the intervention should be no more than 4 minutes so we can finish on time for the climate summit. So it's my honor now to turn it over to Secretary General Antonio Gutierrez, who honors us with his presence today and with his first appearance on what is certainly a very hectic week for him. So please, Secretary General.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I must apologize for being extremely unpolite, against everything I believe is the right thing to do. I will have to leave after I speak. But unfortunately, I have today only 5 summits and 30 bilateral meetings, so you can understand why I need to do so. Our world's forests are on fire. As we meet today, thick smog is choking tens of thousands of hectares of forest in Indonesia. And fires are still raging in the Amazon, afflicting millions of acres of rainforests. Recent satellite imagery also showed the vast red zone of fire in Africa's Congo Basin, and even the Arctic Circle was ablaze earlier this summer. In June, Arctic fires emitted 50 megatons of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. July produced another 79 megatons, double the previous record for a single month. By August, the cloud of soot staining the Arctic sky was bigger than the European Union. Rich and poor countries alike are feeling the heat. Let's not forget last November's fires in California, which caused more than $16 billion in economic losses, the largest on record for a wildfire globally. As the atmosphere fills with smoke and ash, our future grows dark. Deforestation is continuing at an alarming rate. Every year, 7 million hectares of forest are lost. And these are not localized disasters, but part of a global threat. We will not overcome the climate emergency without safeguarding our planet's very lungs. These fires not only contribute to climate change by releasing carbon dioxide, but also destroy trees and vegetation that act as a carbon sink and actively remove these emissions from our air. We cannot afford more damage to such a vital source of oxygen and biodiversity. For many forest-rich countries, it is deforestation and not fossil fuel use that is the major source of carbon emissions. This means that reducing deforestation and forest degradation is central to our efforts to close the emissions gap and keep global temperature rise to 1.5 degrees Celsius. Of course, forest fires brings benefits beyond the climate battle. Through the rivers they feed, forests are responsible for all of our cities' drinking water. They are a source of livelihoods and economic sustainability. They support agriculture across all continents by regulating weather. Forests also act as a natural buffer, and when that buffer is removed, we can have disastrous consequences. The ongoing deforestation of the Amazon rainforest threatens to deny rain to farmers hundreds of miles away in Brazil's agricultural heartland. In Southeast Asia, fires set to clear land have generated a prolonged haze that has led schools to close and people to fear for their health. And early this year in Mozambique, deforestation amplified the effects of Cyclone Idai. With fewer trees, wind speeds increased and water absorption into the ground decreased dramatically. The subsequent destruction from the cyclone and flooding cost more than 600 lives. Halting deforestation and restoring degraded forests are global imperatives. For every dollar spent restoring degraded forests, as much as $30 can be recouped in economic benefits and poverty reduction. Restoring degraded lands means better lives and income for farmers and herders and less pressure to migrate to cities. We must change the way we farm and rebalance the global food system by growing food without destroying large tracts of forest. And we must improve forest management and reforestation to reap the benefits of carbon sequestration. We must provide more investments in forests and put a value on forest carbon. And we must speed our transition to a cleaner, greener future with a healthy forest system at its core. The 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development recognizes the vital role of forests, as does the Paris Agreement on Climate Change, along with all other UN conventions and programs. Forests will also figure proeminently at today's Climate Action Summit as part of our discussion on nature-based solutions. As the ferocity of this summer's wildfires and heat waves shows, we need to protect and grow our forests, not now, before fires consume our future. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Secretary General. Over to you, Pam.
I would like to we all thank the Secretary General and excuse him to make peace in the world. We now have a short intervention and very important one of the indigenous population and their interest in the rainforest and in the Amazon. I would like the three members of the indigenous representation here today to come to the podium. Right here. Just stand at the podium. With honor, I announce the winners just named You hear it first of the Equator Prize 2019. Their work is being recognized as they advance outstanding and effective nature-based solutions for climate change and sustainable development. I first give you Rosa Elena Jerez Masaquisa. She is an indigenous leader from Ecuador, and she is representing her organization, Fondo de los Páramos, whose activities aim, well known, whose activity aim at climate adaptation and ensure security as it is crucial for life and ecosystems preservation. I give you Rosa Elena.
Buenos días.
Good morning. My name is Rosa Jerez. Together with my companions from Peru, we're here not just representing our indigenous communities, but we are the people and the voices of our Pachamama, our Mother Earth. I'm from Ecuador, and I represent the Fondo Páramos in the struggle against poverty. We won the Equatorial Prize. This initiative came from the need of the indigenous communities and farmers communities to conserve our Páramo ecosystem to guarantee life for the future generations, because our vision is to prevent water scarcity. The Páramo is the most important region of the Andean region. The high Andes, it can accumulate large amounts of water and regulate its distribution. Among its people, we, as the fund, take care of finding financing to support these communities so that the communities can generate projects and improve the life of their population. The well-being of the Páramo ecosystem determines the quality of life in the middle and lower areas, and it guarantees the human use of water. It also benefits communities who live around it and benefits companies that base their functioning on water from the area. It impacts directly the health of the Amazons and the whole world. We contribute every day to promote the commitments from 2015 towards the sustainable development and climate change. We are here to call on you because the environment is a global responsibility. We invite you to join our voices so that the wisdom of the ancestral peoples can be shared, and so that through its resources and powers, our Pachamama, as the government of the Tungurahua region, thus our water company, our hydroelectric companies, and our indigenous organizations in my country. It is not important only to take care of the Amazons. If we don't take care of the higher regions, if we don't take care of our páramos, we cannot talk about restoring the Amazons. So we invite you to join us in this life project.
With great honor, I thank Rosa Elena for speaking for all three. Let me just mention the other names. Walter Querte Wadi Darikebe is from Peru and representing his organizations that aim at climate mitigation. Angel Pedro Valeria is from Peru and is representing Kemito NA. I now ask the floor to recognize. We're going to now turn to the high-level segment with Mr. David Malpass, President of the World Bank.
Muy buenos días a todos.
Good morning.
The President of the World Bank. We are moving the schedule around just slightly. Con permiso, vamos a regresar.
If I may, we'll come back to you. If I may.
All of the busy schedules. So thank you very much. Hold on. Mr. David Malpass, President of the Central Bank, of the World Bank.
Thank you very much, and thank you so much to our speakers from the Amazon as well. But I want to very heartily thank France, Chile, and Colombia for leading this effort, and their presidents, President Macron, President Piñera, and President Duque, for their leadership on these important events and the dramatic fires in the Amazon. As others have made clear and our speakers did, the forests and landscapes are under significant and increasing threat due to the deforestation and land degradation, and this affects rural areas and the poor the most. The scale of the crisis and the resulting fallout demands a bold response by everyone. Words are simply not enough. The World Bank is committed to addressing this crisis with energy and with money. We see the potential of forests to reduce poverty, and we are scaling up our efforts in this area. Our forest portfolio has grown from $1.8 billion US in fiscal year 2016 to over $3 billion in fiscal year 19. We're building on our commitment to invest in healthy forests. And the World Bank today, this morning, I signed and launched with Germany the Pro-Green Trust Fund. It's a trust fund to build landscapes and natural habitats. And we thank Germany for the foundational contribution in that area. It's an umbrella that will help consolidate funds for activities in biodiversity. Pro-Green will help countries meet their national and global development goals and commitments, including poverty reduction, in an integrated and cost-effective manner. It will provide technical assistance and financial interventions in forest management and land restoration, also in protected areas and illegal logging and wildlife trade. And particularly relevant, Pro-Green, and I see Chancellor Merkel there and want to thank Germany for the major contribution to the Pro-Green fund this morning. It will develop innovative fire management tools such as early warning systems and fire management guidelines. So the World Bank greatly appreciates the work this morning of the three presidents on the forest initiative, and also Germany for the foundational contribution to the Pro-Green Fund. Thank you very much.
We thank Mr. Malpass, President of the World Bank. Keep funding the world, keep funding the rainforest. And now we excuse the interruption. We return to the Indigenous Prize winners. With great
Muchas
honor,
gracias.
I now introduce Walter Kerte Wari Darikebe from Peru.
Thank you very much. My name is Ángel Pedro Valerio. I am the head of the Central Asiánica of the N River. I also represent the Association of Producers Kemito N, which in my language means Leni Cacao. It is a privilege for me to be here with all of you today and to have won this Equatorial Prize that is given by the UNDP. We believe that through this recognition, more organizations can replicate our work. The goal of our project is to create economic development based in ancestral knowledge. We are approximately 360 families that grow coffee and cacao organically. We want agriculture in harmony with the forest and nature. We improve agricultural productivity for our brothers and sisters using methods that are sustainable. And we were able to export over 90 tons of cacao to international markets and to France even. Some of you were committed to protect and conserve the forest, and they signed a forest declaration in New York. We must help each other so that we can meet the goals that we set for ourselves. This is why we ask governments and businesses to support the Green Fund so that we continue to care for our forests and for the Amazon. We need to forge alliances between governments and indigenous peoples for mutual benefit. Financial investment by government and businesses will be reflected in the environmental achievements of our organizations. We ask you and urge you to support our traditional practices, not only for the benefit of indigenous people, but to care for the world for future generations. All the activities that we have been done with effort and dedication in spite of the risks that we face. Yesterday, in fact, I received information from Peru. They've said that I have been threatened by people who plant coca leaves because the Peruvian state has decided to eradicate coca leaves. So I ask you all to help protect the indigenous people. Thank you. Ason.
I thank our distinguished prize winner, and I want to be clear, that was Angel Pedro Valerio. He is from Peru. He is representing his organization, Camito Eme. Camito Eme's story is about an indigenous social enterprise around cocoa and coffee. This local community shows us how indigenous people can successfully break into the international supply chain. Their story is a testament to how world supply chains need to transform and a new green economy is necessary. Our final prize winner, and we congratulate him, is Walter Kertetewari Darikebe from Peru. He is representing his organization, Ejecutor de Contrato de Administración de la Reserva Comunal Amara Keri, whose activities aim at climate mitigation and work toward keeping forests intact for them to sequester better. Their story is about indigenous co-management. Walter, you have the floor.
Sí.
Thank you very much. I am Walter Kertewari. I am a member of the indigenous peoples of the Madre de Dios region in Peru. I am the president of the organization, in the technical indigenous organizations that manage this Maracaibo Natural Reserve along with the Peruvian state. We manage our own ancestral territory, which has been recognized as a protected natural area along with the state. I'd like to thank you all for giving us the opportunity to be here in New York as one of the 22 winners of the Ecuador Prize that the UNDP awards. I am representing one of the 10 communal reserves in Peru, the National Association of the ECAS in Peru, ANICAP, which created an intercultural alliance with the Peruvian state. This is a new successful experience that can be replicated in the Amazon. This successful alliance with the Peruvian state allows us to conserve over 5 million hectares on these community lands. It allows us to protect water for humanity. We work on nature-based solutions through the implementation of the life plans of our communities, which include adaptation and mitigation activities. These help us conserve our forests and sustainably use our natural resources and biodiversity. We are able to improve the economy of our communities and to ensure some of the food security. The activities that we've done have been done through our own proposal that was born out of the indigenous people, the Amazon Indigenous Network. Some of this cooperation and the UNDP support has been important to develop the activities that we promote. We have achievements, but we need to replicate and bring them to scale together with indigenous people in the Amazon basin. This is why, facing the dangers of the Amazons, we raise our voices and we ask you to accelerate efficient conservation and development actions for indigenous people. The governments, businesses, and civil societies should cooperate. Let's unite our efforts to support initiatives that indigenous people have already practiced. We are certain that the Amazons will continue to generate well-being for indigenous people and for humanity as a whole. Let us help save the Amazon. Montinok, Kaori, Wari, as we say in our language. Takichi, thank you very much.
Please join me in thanking all three panelists. They have traveled far and wide. We honor them for their important contributions, and that is why they have been awarded the 2019 prize. Adelante. Thank you. The rainforest is essential to life on the planet and one of the greatest reserves of global biodiversity. We are closing the early segment of this program. The Rainforest Alliance today sets out to garner an unprecedented mobilization. We call on all world leaders right now to come up for a family photo, and we will start the high-level segment. All presidents and head of state, chancellor, and others to please come up for the family photo. Thank you.
Aquí, presidente.
Please gather at the front of the room for the family photo. Thank you.
Probabilité pour que le truc soit là. Oh.
Ah, monsieur.
Y tiene el celular que se me quedó ahí, es el moradito. Gracias.
Clicou aqui.
We thank everyone for visiting with the heads of state, and we ask everyone if they could be seated, photographers, in order to get the group together. Please stand back.